recall your first job, the nerves, the determination, and perhaps the unexpected lessons you learned? Let's share our experiences in the comments. Now, let's dive into a tale of resilience and empowerment set against the backdrop of a luxurious hotel. In the heart of the city, beneath the soft glow of street lamps, Imani Caldwell stepped out of the sleek black car, the cool night air whispering around her. The Grand Elysian Crown Hotel stood tall and proud, its golden signage casting dancing shadows on the pavement. The building was a testament to its creator, elegant, understated, and strong. Imani paused, her eyes tracing the familiar lines of the hotel she had once only dreamed of owning. The lobby, bathed in warm light, was a symphony of polished marble, lush arrangements, and the gentle hum of jazz. Yet tonight, Imani felt a quiet unease. She entered, her steps quiet yet determined. No luggage, no entourage, just a canvas duffel over one shoulder and a soft resolve in her stride. Her tailored slacks and sand-colored blouse, devoid of flashy logos, exuded grace and unspoken authority. Behind the reception desk sat a young woman with chestnut hair and a practiced smile that didn't reach her eyes. Her name tag read Emily. As Imani approached, Emily's gaze flickered over her, pausing briefly on the duffel bag. "Checking in?" Emily asked, her voice light, neutral. Imani returned the smile politely. "Yes, under the name Caldwell," she replied. Emily began typing, her fingers moving quickly. Then they stopped. A frown creased her brow. "I don't see a reservation under that name," she said, her tone laced with mild confusion. "That's all right," Imani said, calm and unfazed. "There should be a suite held for me. Always is." Emily straightened, her tone suddenly more formal. "Ma'am, we're fully booked tonight. You'd need a confirmed booking to stay here." "Guests only," she added pointedly. The room seemed to hold its breath as Imani stood still. She looked past Emily, past the desk, to the gold plaque bearing the hotel's name, Elysian Crown, a Caldwell property. She looked back at Emily. "I am a guest," she said quietly. "And more than that, I own this hotel." Emily's face registered disbelief. "You own the Elysian Crown?" she asked, skepticism dripping from her words. Imani nodded slowly. Emily paused, then reached for the desk phone. "I'm going to have to call the manager," she said. "Go ahead," Imani replied, her voice measured, clear. Across the lobby, a couple in pastel attire glanced over. A man lowered his tablet. The doorman stood a little straighter. The night was far from over at the Elysian Crown. One was tall, broad-shouldered, with a no-nonsense air about him. The other was shorter, more compact, but with an unmistakable aura of authority. They walked towards the desk, their eyes scanning the scene, landing briefly on Imani before moving on. "Miss Caldwell," the taller man acknowledged with a nod, his voice steady, respectful. Imani didn't respond, didn't move, but something in her stance shifted, a subtle relaxation, a quiet readiness. The shorter man turned to Sophia, his gaze direct. "You're Sophia, correct? I'm Mr. Thompson, the general manager. This is Mr. Lee, our head of security." Sophia nodded, her eyes wide. "Yes, sir." "Miss Caldwell is our owner," Mr. Thompson continued, his voice firm yet calm. "She should have been given her room without question. I apologize for the misunderstanding." Sophia's face flushed, her hands fidgeting with the hem of her blazer. I'm sorry, sir. I didn't realize." Mr. Thompson waved a hand, cutting her off. "No harm done. Jason will have her room ready in a moment. I've also asked him to review our staff's training on VIP recognition." He turned to Imani, a hint of apology in his eyes. "Miss Caldwell, I assure you, this will not happen again. Your stay here is, of course, complimentary. If there's anything you need, please don't hesitate to ask." Imani finally moved, stepping forward. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson. I appreciate your prompt attention to this matter." Jason appeared then, his tie straightened, clipboard forgotten. "Your suite is ready, Miss Caldwell. I apologize for the delay." Imani accepted the key card with a nod, her expression unreadable. "Thank you, Jason." As she walked towards the elevator, the lobby seemed to exhale. The young man with the laptop closed it, the trio of women gathered their bags, the doorman resumed his greetings. The night at the Elysian Crown continued, the unexpected interruption now a closed chapter. In the elevator, Imani leaned against the wall, her reflection staring back at her. She looked tired, not from the events of the night, but from the weight of a lifetime of being underestimated, of proving herself, of fighting for recognition. But she was still standing, still fighting, still here. And that, she thought with a small, determined smile, was enough. For now. As the elevator doors closed, Imani reached into her duffel bag, pulling out a small, worn notebook. She flipped through the pages, filled with names, dates, and brief notes. Each page was a testament to her journey, her struggles, her victories. She found what she was looking for, a name scrawled in neat, precise handwriting, Sophia, receptionist, Elysian Crown. Beside it, a date from 3 months ago and a note, potential, needs mentoring, watch closely. Imani tapped the name gently with her finger. She had seen potential in Sophia, had taken a chance on her, giving her a shot at the prestigious receptionist position. She had hoped that Sophia would rise to the occasion, that she would grow, learn, and understand the true value of the opportunities she was given. But tonight, Sophia had failed, not just in her duties, but in her judgment, her assumption, her lack of belief. Imani felt a pang of disappointment, but also a spark of determination. This was not the end, but a chance for growth, for both of them. She opened her phone, typing out a message to Mr. Thompson. Sophia needs additional training. I'd like her to shadow me tomorrow. Let's turn this into a learning opportunity. She hit send, the message disappearing into the digital ether. As the elevator dinged, opening onto the quiet hallway of the penthouse suite, Imani slipped her phone and notebook back into her bag. She stepped out, her heels clicking softly on the polished floor. Tomorrow was a new day, a chance to learn, to teach, to grow. And Imani Caldwell was ready to face it, head on, as she always did. After all, she was not just the owner of the Elysian Crown, she was its heart, its soul, its guiding force. And she was not about to let a single misstep define any of them. As Imani stepped into the suite, the door closed softly behind her, sealing off the tension and chaos of the lobby. She took a deep breath, the familiar scent of home wrapping around her like a comforting embrace. She set her duffel bag down on the plush sofa, her shoulders relaxing slightly as she took in the room. The suite was exactly as she had left it on her last visit, elegant, understated, and comforting. The soft glow of the table lamps cast a warm hue over the cream-colored walls, adorned with original art pieces she had handpicked. The large windows offered a panoramic view of the city skyline, the twinkling lights a stark contrast to the dark night. Imani walked over to the floor-to-ceiling windows, her reflection staring back at her in the glass. She could see the lobby below, a flurry of activity now that she was no longer there. She watched as Patrick and Andrea conferred with Jason and Sophia, their gestures animated, their expressions serious. She turned away from the window, her mind already shifting gears. She had work to do, plans to make, and a company to run. But for now, she needed to rest. She needed to recharge, to refocus, to prepare for the day ahead. She walked into the bedroom, the king-sized bed beckoning her with its plush comforter and mountain of pillows. She slipped out of her shoes, her clothes, and climbed into bed, the sheets cool and smooth against her skin. As she closed her eyes, she took a deep breath, the scent of lavender and vanilla filling her nostrils. She let the tension of the day drain away, her body sinking into the mattress, her mind quieting. But just as sleep began to claim her, a soft buzzing sound filled the room. She reached for her phone, seeing a message from her assistant, Maria. I heard about the incident at the Elysian Crown. Are you all right? Imani smiled, her fingers flying over the screen as she replied. I'm fine, Maria. Just another day in the life of Imani Caldwell. We'll discuss tomorrow. Good night. She set the phone back down, her eyes closing once more. As sleep finally claimed her, she felt a sense of peace, of calm, of readiness. She was Imani Caldwell, owner of the Elysian Crown, CEO of Evermark Hotels, and she was more than ready to face whatever the next day brought. Sophia's voice came out small, barely above a whisper. I didn't think you were you. I mean, I didn't recognize you." Imani nodded, her expression unchanging. "And why didn't you recognize me, Sophia?" Sophia fidgeted with her hands, her eyes darting between Imani and the notepad in front of Heather. I guess I just didn't expect. I mean, you weren't dressed like a CEO or something." Imani raised an eyebrow. "And what does a CEO look like, Sophia?" Sophia stammered, her cheeks flushing pink. "I don't know. I guess I thought you'd be more formal." "Formal," Imani repeated, her gaze shifting to Jason. "And what about you, Jason? Why didn't you recognize me?" Jason swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing. I did recognize you, Miss Caldwell. I just didn't think, I didn't expect you to be here, like this." "Here, like this," Imani prompted. Jason looked down at his clipboard, his fingers tightening around it. "I mean, without an announcement, without security or something." Imani's gaze swept the room, her expression serious. "Let me make something clear. I am always here. I am always present. I am the owner of this hotel, of this company, and I expect to be treated as such, no matter what I'm wearing, no matter how I arrive." She turned to Heather, her voice steady. "What are the next steps, Heather?" Heather consulted her notepad, her voice professional. "I've already begun the process of reviewing our training materials and guest recognition protocols. I'll be conducting interviews with all staff members over the next few days to better understand the cultural climate here at the Elysian Crown. Based on my findings, I'll make recommendations for changes and improvements." Imani nodded. "Thank you, Heather. I want a full report on my desk by the end of the week." She turned back to Jason and Sophia, her expression softening slightly. "I'm not here to punish you. I'm here to learn, to understand, and to grow. But I expect more from my staff. I expect you to know who I am, to respect my presence, and to treat every guest as if they were me." She paused, her gaze steady. "Do you understand?" Jason and Sophia both nodded, their expressions contrite. "Yes, Miss Caldwell," they murmured in unison. Imani gave a small nod, then turned to Patrick and Andrea, who had been watching the exchange silently. "I want you both to work with Heather on this. I want us to be proactive, to be transparent, and to be better." Patrick and Andrea nodded, their faces determined. "Yes, Miss Caldwell," they said. Imani took a deep breath, her gaze sweeping the room once more. "This is not a failure. This is an opportunity for us to grow, to learn, and to become better. Let's make the most of it." With that, she turned and walked out of the conference room, her heels clicking softly on the marble floor. As she passed the concierge desk, she paused, picking up a pen and writing a note on the hotel's letterhead. She folded it carefully, then walked back into the conference room, placing it in front of Sophia. "For you," she said softly, then walked out, leaving the room in a stunned silence. As the door closed behind her, Sophia unfolded the note, her eyes scanning the neat handwriting. "Remember who you are. Remember who we are. And remember that every guest deserves the same respect and dignity that you would want for yourself." Sophia looked up, her eyes meeting Imani's through the frosted glass door. She nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. She understood, and she was ready to do better. Imani walked back into the lobby, her steps purposeful. She spotted the young man from the night before, the one with the half-open laptop, now sitting at a table by the window, a cup of coffee in front of him. She approached him, her expression serious. "Excuse me," she said, her voice soft yet commanding. "I'm Imani Caldwell, the owner of this hotel. I believe you witnessed an incident last night involving myself and one of our receptionists." The young man looked up, his eyes wide with surprise. "Yes, I did," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I would like to speak with you if you have a moment," Imani said, gesturing to the empty chair beside him. The young man nodded, closing his laptop and pushing it aside. "Of course," he said. Imani sat down, her back straight, her hands folded in her lap. "I want to understand your perspective," she said. "What did you see last night? How did it make you feel?" The young man took a deep breath, his eyes flicking to the reception desk where Sophia had been sitting the night before. I saw a woman who was clearly upset, who was trying to check into her own hotel but was being denied access. I saw the receptionist, Sophia, looking at her like she was, I don't know, like she was less than, like she didn't deserve to be there. He paused, his brow furrowing. It made me feel uncomfortable. It made me feel like something was wrong, like something wasn't right. It made me feel like I needed to speak up, but I didn't know how. Imani nodded, her expression thoughtful. And how did you feel when you saw me later? When you saw the reaction of the staff? The young man's gaze shifted to the floor. I felt embarrassed, he said quietly. I felt like I had missed something, like I had been wrong about the situation. I felt like I had been too quick to judge. Imani reached out, placing a hand on his arm. You weren't wrong, she said softly. What you saw was real. What you felt was real. And it's important that you trust your instincts, that you stand up for what you believe in, even when it's difficult. She leaned back in her chair, her gaze steady. But it's also important to understand the full picture, to listen to all sides of a story before making a judgment. It's important to give people the benefit of the doubt, to assume the best in them, even when they've given you reason to do otherwise. The young man looked up, his eyes meeting Imani's. I understand, he said. Thank you for explaining. Imani smiled, a small, warm smile. Thank you for listening, she said, and thank you for being willing to speak up, to be a part of the solution. We need more people like you in this world. She stood, her hand squeezing his arm gently. I hope you enjoy your stay with us, she said, and I hope you'll consider sharing your experience with others, helping us to spread the word about the kind of hospitality we strive to provide here at the Elysian Crown. The young man nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. I will, he said. Thank you, Miss Caldwell. As Imani walked away, she felt a sense of satisfaction, of purpose fulfilled. She had come to the Elysian Crown to address a problem, to hold her staff accountable, to make things right, but she had also come to listen, to learn, to grow. And in doing so, she had found not just a solution, but a connection, a bond, a shared commitment to something greater than themselves. And that, she thought with a smile, was the true power of hospitality. The power to bring people together, to create a sense of belonging, to make the world a little bit smaller, a little bit kinder, one interaction at a time. Patrick turned as Imani entered the office, his expression serious. Miss Caldwell, he acknowledged, his voice steady. Imani walked in, her heels clicking softly on the carpet. Patrick, she greeted, her gaze sweeping the room. How's the mood out there? Patrick hesitated, his hands clasped behind his back. The staff seems unsettled. They know something's going on, but they're not sure what. Imani nodded, taking a seat at the large desk in the center of the room. That's to be expected. Change is never easy. Patrick walked over, taking the seat across from her. I've been thinking, he began, his voice measured, about last night, about Sophia, about you. Imani raised an eyebrow, her expression curious. Oh? Patrick took a deep breath, his gaze steady. I realize now that I've been guilty of the same thing. I've been guilty of making assumptions, of judging people based on my own preconceived notions. Imani leaned back in her chair, her expression thoughtful. Go on. Patrick continued, I've always thought of you as this untouchable figure, the owner, the CEO, the woman who built this empire from nothing. I never stopped to think about the person behind the title. I never stopped to see you as a person like me. He paused, his brow furrowing. And I realize now that that's not fair. That's not right. And it's not the kind of culture I want to foster here at the Elysian Crown. Imani nodded, her expression softening. I appreciate your honesty, Patrick, and I appreciate your willingness to acknowledge your mistakes, to learn from them. Patrick looked down at his hands, his fingers tightening around the armrests of his chair. I want to do better, Miss Caldwell. I want to be better. I want to help create a culture where everyone feels valued, where everyone feels seen. Imani reached out, placing a hand on his arm. I believe you, Patrick, and I believe in you. That's why I want you to take the lead on this. I want you to work with Heather to help implement these changes, to help create a better, more inclusive culture here at the Elysian Crown. Patrick looked up, his eyes meeting Imani's. You trust me with this? Imani nodded. I do. I trust you because I know you're capable of growth, of change. And I know that you're committed to doing what's right, no matter what it takes. Patrick took a deep breath, his expression determined. I won't let you down, Miss Caldwell. I promise you that. Imani smiled, a small, warm smile. I know you won't, Patrick. And that's why I have faith in the future of this company, in the future of this brand. Because it's in the hands of people like you. As Imani stood, Patrick stood with her, his expression resolved. Thank you, Miss Caldwell, he said, his voice steady. I won't let you down. Imani walked out of the office, leaving Patrick to his thoughts. As she stepped back into the lobby, she felt a sense of satisfaction, of purpose fulfilled. She had come to the Elysian Crown to address a problem, to hold her staff accountable, to make things right. But she had also come to inspire, to empower, to build a better future, one person at a time. And as she looked around the lobby, at the faces of the people she had come to know, she knew that she had succeeded. She had planted the seeds of change, and she had no doubt that they would grow, that they would flourish, that they would create a brighter, more inclusive future for everyone involved. As the elevator doors closed behind her, Imani leaned back against the cool metal wall, her eyes closed briefly. She took a deep breath, letting the quiet hum of the elevator fill her senses. She had done what she came to do. She had addressed the issue, held her staff accountable, and inspired a new level of commitment and dedication. But she also knew that her work was far from over. She opened her eyes, her gaze steady as the elevator doors opened onto the quiet hallway of her suite. She walked in, the familiar scent of lemon oil and eucalyptus greeting her. She set her briefcase down on the desk, her fingers tracing the smooth grain of the wood. She walked over to the floor-to-ceiling windows, her gaze sweeping the city skyline. The sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows across the streets below. She watched as the lights of the city began to twinkle on, one by one, like stars coming to life. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, pulling her from her thoughts. She slipped it out, seeing a message from Maria. I've scheduled a meeting with the board for next week. They want an update on the Elysian Crown situation. Imani sighed, her fingers flying over the screen as she replied, Thank you, Maria. I'll prepare a full report. Let's also schedule a company-wide town hall for later this month. I want to address this issue directly, to reassure our employees, and to reaffirm our commitment to change. She set the phone down on the desk, her gaze returning to the city below. She knew that the next few weeks would be challenging. She would have to navigate the politics of the board, the concerns of the shareholders, and the expectations of the public. But she also knew that she was ready. She was ready to face whatever came her way, to fight for what she believed in, and to create a better, more inclusive future for her company, for her employees, and for everyone who stepped through the doors of an Evermark hotel. Because that, she thought with a small, determined smile, was what she had built this empire for. And she would be damned if she let anything or anyone stand in her way. As the car pulled away from the Elysian Crown Hotel, Imani looked back one last time, her gaze lingering on the grand building that had been the backdrop to her journey of growth and understanding. In her hand, she held Sophia's note, a symbol of the power of honesty, the importance of second chances, and the beauty of human connection. She folded it carefully, tucking it into her purse, a reminder of the impact she had made, the lives she had touched, and the difference she had created. Because at the end of the day, that was what mattered most. The quiet moments, the honest words, and the genuine connections. As she sat back in her seat, her eyes closed, her heart full, she knew that she was more than just a businesswoman, more than just a success story. She was a woman who had made a difference, who had changed lives, who had left a mark on the world. And with that thought, she signed off, ready to face whatever the future held, with grace, with courage, and with the unwavering belief in the power of human connection. Subscribe to our channel for more meaningful stories. Like and follow us for daily doses of inspiration, empathy, and personal growth. Turn on notifications to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt stories. Share our content if you found it valuable and want to spread the love. Join our community of like-minded individuals seeking to make a difference, one story at a time. Let's grow together.